Let's get to it. Earlier on Saturday, big news on the recruiting trail, a surprise. Now, there were some whispers that this might be happening, but this one was kept under wraps pretty darn good. In Gator Nation, you know how we do it. Let's go. Right here on Gators Breakdown, we got to commit. And that was earlier today on Saturday. Offensive tackle Tavaris Dice from Fairburn, Georgia. 6'4", 295-pound, 4-star flip from Auburn, where he had been committed there since March. The Florida staff just kept on him, and it eventually paid off. The 24/7 Sports Composite ranks Dice as the 191st player overall in the country, the 20th offensive tackle in the country. The On3 industry rankings have him 192nd overall and the 18th offensive tackle in the country. Dice is coming off a Florida visit 2 weeks ago versus LSU and last week to Auburn versus Texas A&M. So I think it started really turning a couple of weeks ago when he was in person for that big win over LSU. Visits Auburn last week anyway. That wasn't enough to sway him back towards Auburn. I think a couple weeks ago, he got it in his mind, hey, I'm going to flip to Florida. And that visit to Auburn last week didn't change it. It didn't change it. So good for the Gators. So let's go. We'll pull up some highlights. And 24/7 Sports, Gabe Brooks says this about Dice. He's the first off the bus type with broad-shouldered, long-arm build who wears existing mass exceptionally well, gets off the line of scrimmage with quickness, and shows encouraging bend relative to dimensions, capable of leveraging under defensive linemen and moving them off the ball. Natural drive blocker with promising run game hand placement. Can play a bit tight through the hips and core, but appears to show better knee and ankle flexibility than many of his peers, especially in a combine setting. Displays some finishing nastiness at times, still developing strength and power punch consistency, but capacity for both should be quite high given physical upside. Has shown agility to beat much lighter speed-oriented edge rushers on an island. Multi-sport foundation includes basketball, which fuels functional athleticism and movement ability. Natural tackle who likely provides roster value as someone who could probably move inside if needed. Projects to be a high major level as a potential multi-year starter with physical tools and on-field context that suggest NFL draft upside. That ends Gabe Brooks of 24/7 Sports Thoughts. And then Cole Pinkston of On3 says, probably the most impressive about Dice is his combination of size and quickness. His agility holds up with many college-level tackles while being 6'4", 296 pounds with more room to add mass. Dice is more polished in his pass set than most on the high school level. He plays with good pad level as a run blocker and would not fit the usual description of raw. He seems to understand what he's doing at this stage. Little nose itch there. Dice is strong and powerful while playing with a high level of violence. He can drive defenders off the ball and motor down enough to execute a combo. He has excellent upside as an offensive lineman and probably could be versatile. And in an in-person camp evaluation, they said this: we feel comfortable saying Dice was the most smooth of any offensive lineman going through agility drills. There was no clunkiness, no missteps we could tell. Dice is just smooth. When he got to the one-on-one session, he won his reps easily. Dice kept a flat back, had a strong base, and mirrored rushers on the edge. Solid and smooth would be the best way to describe his performance. Dice is a true offensive tackle. He is not the lengthiest player, but has the feet that translate to a college-level tackle. About his football IQ, they say Dice's football IQ shows up in his pass sets. In camp settings, he is well polished in mirroring and setting down an anchor or post foot to keep his balance with a rusher. He's been coached up well, but he also has the body control to do it at a high level early on. As far as for an area of improvement, Dice is a strong finisher, but sometimes leaves his feet too early. Really, an offensive lineman has to keep their feet at all times. It's different on the college level. Sometimes the play isn't over when you get a guy on the ground. They can pop back up and make plays. So keeping his feet, staying locked on to each defender can be a point of emphasis. He sells out on blocks, though, and that is a good thing. Dice is a physically ready to play in the SEC as anyone in the country. He's not meeting opponents who are on another level than him physically, not even in elite camp settings. He is known to have good work ethic, a player who has been around the game and has some basketball skills. So many traits transfer pretty well to the SEC. It's a big jump, and there will be an adjustment period, but we see Dice as one of the most SEC-ready players in the country. Man, high praise there for Dice. And that was coming when he committed to Auburn. Not much has changed there. But that's exactly what you want to hear. I mean, this is about as... listening to that and watching those highlights, I mean, you see it. He got a nasty streak to him. But that's exactly for... You want to hear that about any player, but specifically offensive tackle. And you got some analysis out there that he could be ready early on. You don't really hear that a whole lot often about an offensive tackle. So we'll see. Florida won't probably need him to be ready as a freshman next year, but at least there's a great foundation to work with coming from the great evaluators there in his recruiting services. So Dice is a 21st commit for the class that stays ranked 15th overall, the 24/7 Sports Composite. Didn't raise with this one. He is the third offensive lineman committed, and Florida wanted to at least add 3 in this class. Add Dice at tackle along with 3 stars, Jahari Medlock and Daniel Pierre-Louis. All 3 offensive line commits coming within the last couple of weeks. So you add him to that mix, and then you go back to the last class. Add in Fletcher Westphal from the last cycle, and you got 2 young, highly rated tackles here. Add in Zandamela at center from last cycle as well, and that's a pretty good young nucleus to build around in years to come. And look, I've seen it in the chat. His name has been repeated over and over again in the chat. Hopefully, add Solomon Thomas to this list as well. But certainly, a lot to point at with this addition of Dice of, hey, Florida's got, that's what I'm saying, going back to last cycle and Fletcher Westphal, 2 really good tackles to build around. And I'm going to go back. Another win for Florida tonight over FSU. We hope it pays dividends down the road with somebody like Solomon Thomas. Look, we kind of know the flip status of him probably in the works before tonight's game anyway. But let's go back on, if you listen to the last episode of Gators Breakdown. But on Wednesday, I asked Billy Napier, of course, the last couple of weeks, making a difference on the recruiting trail. Well, here's what he had to say. Of course, we've seen all the visits the last couple of weeks, a string of commitments. I know you can't get into player specific, but what has kind of been the general feedback from the last 2 big weekends?
Well, a lot of these kids we had really good relationships from in the past. Maybe we finished second or whatever the case may be. And I think the stability and then obviously the performance on the field, the energy amongst our players. Just I think Gator Nation is kind of rallying the troops a little bit, so all of that, this is a powerful place. When we have momentum, we can be dangerous, and I think it's critical that we keep that. Obviously, our focus right now is on Florida State and the game Saturday, so we need to continue playing well, and we got to earn the right to win this weekend and try to finish this race and keep this momentum. And, I do think recruiting is affected by that. I tell the staff all the time, the most significant recruiting factor is winning. And I think when we do that, we'll get our fair share of good players.
Keep on winning. And got a bowl game coming up, of course. Look, but signing days before that. And I think this 3-game winning streak is going to go a long way in really helping Florida's cause here. I think I forgot I saw it. Somebody asked chance of the top 10 finish now in recruiting, and I'm going just high school recruiting right now. Probably better than I gave it credit for a few days ago. And I think there's multiple avenues and ways to look at that of why maybe that even changed. And I think there's maybe even more buy-in. And we all know it takes wallets and money. And I think that's coming along with it. I think more people are buying in. And I think more people are realizing you got a 2-year window here. And look, not saying you don't have more past that. But when you have a quarterback, you have a chance. And you know you got a quarterback. Go build on it. Go build around DJ Lagway and see where this thing takes you. And I think more people are just buying into that fact. And it may pay dividends right here in the next few days on the recruiting trail. But we also know you got to save some of that for the transfer portal because Florida needs instant impact players. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, wide receiver, safety. It's going to be interesting next few weeks. And nothing helps more than this 3-game winning streak to end the season.